Good evening. As you know, my name is John O'Sullivan. I'm running for mayor here in our great town of South Brunswick. It's important to get a voice at the table. That's the council. The dais up there. I was up there once before, being the only Republican. It was very interesting, but we have to have a voice up there to talk for the people and let the township know what's going on, because the council meetings, the school board meetings, the planning board meetings, the zoning board meetings are all broadcast during the week. So if you miss it on the actual night, they'll be able to see us again during the week. Some points that I'm going to start off with, the main one I'm going to start off with tonight is to let you know that the Democratic mayor, who was a councilman at the time, voted for the Democratic Township Committee chairman to be our township administrator. I didn't vote for him, not because he was a Democrat. The reason I voted against him was he had no experience in running township government. So he's been there for a while, and that's the first point I'm going to bring up. Now, the second point I'm going to bring up is what I've been reading on, I guess you call it Twitter. And people have been complaining about juveniles messing up our parks in town, especially on the Kendall Park side. I've done some research and found out that some of the problem is caused by people that live on the other side of Route 27, juveniles coming over and messing with our parks, which has ticked off a lot of people and has caused a lot of problems on the Twitter feed. And we have to make sure that the police are following up and keeping up the pressure of the the juveniles, I hope it's not children, juveniles that come in from Franklin and do this damage. Also, I did a little research and found out how we can save $33,000 or maybe $34,000, $35,000 a year. That's not a lot of money in our budget, but traffic lights on roads here in South Brunswick, like Route 1 and 27 or the roads adjacent to it, we were told that we had to put up the roads. We had to put up the roads and the traffic lights. But the problem is we have to pay for it. Now, I don't expect the state or the county to kick in 100% of the fees that they charge us to run the traffic lights. I would going to push that they kick in some money, because they were the ones that told us to put the lights up, and we're stuck with the bill. Now that may be $33,000, $34,000, $35,000 a year, but that at least something to look into. I haven't heard anybody else talking about this, but that's how far we're going to dig in and see what we can do to save the township money. And like my running mate Charlie has said, and I agree with him 100%, and I know it's important as from being up there, is we got to have a seat at the table. See, when you're a councilman, like I was, the only one, they had to listen to me. They had to, because I was a councilman. They just couldn't, pass over me. And one of the times I had to call point of order on them. And that kind of shook them up a little bit, because they had to use the township lawyer to explain to them what point of order is. It means that I can interject legally in Robert Rules of Order to say something, which they weren't really used to having somebody say point of order to them. But you have to have somebody up there saying these things to them and letting them know that people are out there watching. You will be surprised when you go around and walk the streets and talk to the people in town, that they will come back and say, we saw you on television. And that's a lot of people that do that. And I was surprised. I didn't know that many people watch television in the towns. Even sometimes the county has it on television, but it's not. I don't know how they do it, but they do it. You have to check it out. So, but it's important that we get the word out, and it can only be done by the help of people like you.
So for those, I know everybody in here basically knows me. I'm Charlie Kim, and I'm running as a Republican for Township Council. Now, as I said during the breakfast last week, when you run for Township Council, Republican councilman, former councilman Ted Van Hessen once told me that, they say all politics is local, but all local politics is not capital R or capital D, Republican, Democrat. I mean, we all can agree, the stop sign at a road that saves lives is a good idea, so we're all going to vote together. The reason why I am running is because the Township of South Brunswick is a wonderful, diverse community, but it has some issues. Number one, you ask anybody in this town, the last 20 years I've covered it as a journalist, what the problem with South Brunswick is, and they're going to say traffic. Traffic is a nightmare. Now, the council, and this goes back to late Mayor Gambatese and goes to his credit, who fought for years with the DOT to get the shoulder between the piece of shoulder we can ride on during rush hours. We need that, but we need a lot more. We need a lot more here in town. We have a bunch of buses that the township bought that are sitting over at the municipal building not doing anything. Now, what we could really use in this town, if you don't happen to have access to a vehicle and you live on Route 1, like for instance in the Monmouth Mobile Home Park, you can't get to the bus at 27 on New Road. You have to walk that. Now, why can't there be these buses that we have in town? Why can't they set up some east-west routes to get people to the existing bus service through the county on Route 130 to suburban transit on 27, which gives you access to Princeton, Trenton, and Point South and New York? You could really mobilize a lot of people in this town just by using an asset we already have that's been sitting there for years dormant. Why aren't we using them? We have them. We bought them. Why aren't we using them? And how much traffic would that help if we could have some bus service? And what about getting some New Jersey Transit bus service up and down Route 1? Again, you have to go to Princeton to connect with all the 600s to go all over south from Trenton into West Windsor, Plainsboro, Robbinsville. You can get all there at Hamilton. You can get there with the 600 line in Princeton. But then you come up Route 1 and it stops. And then you have to go back up into North Brunswick to get into the whole New Brunswick hub, mass transit through New Jersey Transit. Why can't we have a line that runs on Route 1 between then so that we can get there? That would help a lot with traffic. A little bit, I think. Now, the other thing someone just said to me today, a problem that we have here in South Brunswick. Now, we have an industry and commerce commission. But maybe it's time the township look at putting in a full chamber of commerce, of getting businesses together to try to invigorate the town, because we have a lot of building going on. That's great, but we also have a lot of empty businesses. The South Brunswick Square Mall on Route 1 is a disaster. Since it lost Stop and Shop, we can't have a restaurant where the Ground Round and most recently Tilted Kilt, and before that was El Dorado. For some reason, no one wants to eat there. And, it's crazy because you have the Home Depot right there servicing contractors. Now, where are these contractors going for lunch? Why can't they be going there? And what if we could do something maybe with that Stop and Shop? What if the township got involved? Maybe set up a small business incubator in there. Set up offices that could be let out by the day. So that, if you have a kind of business that you run mainly out of your home, but you need some office space to do a conference with a group of potential clients, or meet with people. or have access to a fax machine, a printer, or those kind of things, but maybe you only need it once a month or twice a month. Set up a huge space there, set up a little mini business incubation thing to help build or grow our small business community, to fill into these vacant lots along all these major highways, not only to bring ratables into the town, but also to help the business community and provide more and more valuable services to our residents, and to do it in a smart private-public partnership that could be easily done. Now, when it comes to taxes, everybody wants to lower taxes. But I think that you can't be under a delusion when it comes to that. The majority of the taxes in this township, whether it be on the municipal level or at the school board level, most of the budgets, about 80 to 85% of both budgets, are already spent for next year where the budget hasn't even been thought of yet. And that's paying overhead, that's paying salaries, that's paying benefits. Because a lot of the unions in town, they are getting contracts with 2 and 3% increases every 3 years. Well, once that contract is inked, there's nothing you can do about the tax increases coming in the next 2 years. They're going to be here. So even when you sit back down to negotiate the budget, and you ask, and one of the big problems, as a journalist covering and doing budget stories, the members of the council, regardless of party, the members of the school board will tell you, they only have about 10 to 15% of the budget that's discretionary, that they could make cuts. And this is the problem. Every year, things keep going up and up and up. What's going to have to happen? At some point in time, there's going to have to be a strong line drawn between public unions in this town and the government. Say, hold up, Tex, wait. Maybe we can't do 3% every year. Maybe it's going to be 0 this year. Maybe 1% next year. Public unions have got to understand that this is not just a replicating money tree that just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. That they have to play by the same rules as private industry. And sometimes when you work in private industry, sometimes there's an increase, sometimes there's not. For most of us, in the last 15 years, in private industry, there's been little to no pay increase.